Marine animals are increasingly threatened around the world. Fisheries are increasingly overexploited, and some animals such as sharks and dolphins are under particular threat. Global fisheries are very big business. Over the last 20 to 30 years, some 75 to 90 million tonnes of fish are landed each year. The industry employs some 34 million fishers, and around 3.5 million decked vessels are used each year. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has monitored nearly 600 fish species since about 1974, and jointly these comprise around about 80% of all global fisheries. More than a third of these fish stocks are now fully exploited, overexploited or depleted. And this is due to overfishing as well as pollution. To achieve sustainability, global fishing needs to be cut by between some 36 to 43% from 2008 levels around the world. Doing so would increase annual fishery production by around about 16.5 million tonnes per year and help to conserve our important marine ecosystems. Unfortunately, however, to date our politicians have been largely unwilling to incur the political costs associated with these short-term sacrifices. One of the most dramatic examples of the crash in global fisheries occurred in the Newfoundland cod fishery. Around 1600, English fishing captains encountering the Newfoundland cod fisheries off northeastern Canada encountered schools of fish so thick that they said one could hardly row a boat through them. Subsistence fishing had occurred there for many centuries. However, large-scale fishing only began around 1500 once the colonisation of North America began by the European colonial powers. Unfortunately, intensity increased ever since, with the result that the entire cod fishery completely collapsed in 1992. In response, national governments have created no-take zones and marine reserves designed to protect endangered marine ecosystems. Unfortunately, however, if you look at the national maps of any of the countries where these occur, you'll see that they comprise a tiny fraction of all of the marine ecosystems associated with that country. Around the world, certain species are under particular threat. Climate change, for example, is most extreme in the northern Arctic regions, where the melting of the polar sea ice has resulted in a particularly rapid rate of warming. And this has allowed marine shipping to transition from occasional scientific exploration to more of an industrial scale exploitation of petroleum and other natural resources. This has also allowed fishing fleets to migrate northwards, meaning that Arctic fish stocks, which were previously unfished, are coming under increasing pressure. Cargo ships and cruise ships are also pressing northwards, bringing with them novel pollutants such as anti-fouling chemicals, ballast water, and even noise pollution, all of which can affect the ecology and activities of the fish. Worldwide, sharks are also under increasing pressure. They do serve an important role as apex predators at the top of the natural food chain, removing weaker members of species and maintaining overall ecosystem health. Unfortunately, however, since the 1980s, shark fishing has increased on a global scale for the harvesting of their fins for use in shark fin soup. In his series of Shark Water movies, biologist Rob Stewart travels places like West Africa, Panama, Costa Rica, Spain, Portugal, France and others, documenting the decline of sharks in many of the places where previously they were abundant. He also exposes what is very often illegal fishing activity, political corruption and large-scale bribery that goes on associated with this industry. Globally, some 26 to 73 million sharks are traded each year, and as many as 50% of the sharks that are killed are actually caught as a bycatch of other fishing industries. Sharks are particularly vulnerable to this sort of ecological pressure because they're particularly slow-growing, long-lived animals with relatively late maturity ages and low reproduction rates. Accordingly, legal initiatives have been passed to try to protect sharks in Hawaii, some Pacific nations, the US and some other nations. However, much more remains to be done. Dolphins are often exploited in swim with the dolphin programs, but far from being genuine swimming with free living dolphins, these programs usually involve people striking a series of poses whilst dolphins respond to the requests of trainers to perform certain poses and movements of their own. They're actually more akin to staged photo shoots rather than any kind of genuine free swim with the dolphin experience. Tour boats can affect free-living dolphins by introducing pollutants into their environment, by affecting the distribution of their prey, and by bringing noise pollution and other sources of stress. Monkey Mia near Shark Bay in Western Australia is one of the few places in the world where genuinely free-living dolphins voluntarily choose to come to shore and interact with human tourists. However, they do so under the very close supervision of guardians who ensure that there is no physical contact between the tourists and the dolphins, and that their autonomy and freedom is respected. Residing as they do in the ocean's depths, marine animals are often out of sight and hence out of mind. However, around the world they're unfortunately being increasingly exploited, and certain species such as sharks and dolphins and Arctic fish are under particular threat.